Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another playoff edition of Full Court Press. We had a great weekend here with a bunch of big playoff games, a bunch of people performing their best, a lot of major players playing in their last games. So we're just going to get started with it. First game, Team Kaplan, Team Mac. Big win for Team Kaplan. Guilbeau, what'd you see?
Well, this was the 9 o'clock game, so of course there was no way my game being at 12:45 that would be there. But looking at the score, 70-39, Team Kaplan. But you also see for the high scorers, we have Max at 13, Sam at 12, Cooper at 9. So the scoring was very distributed. I'm sure their bench players got to play a lot and score a lot, so that's cool, especially in a playoff game. And I think this wasn't really a surprise to anyone.
So I was there.
Okay.
As was I.
Yeah, so
we're dedicated Recball.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But in the first quarter, it was actually tied up at 14, and so was the second quarter. Gilly, if you were there, you would know.
Wow, that's surprising.
But then Kaplan just ran away with it.
Yeah, I think it's just what you'd expect from a 2-15 matchup. Yeah. All right. So.
And Keegs, what do you think about Team Kaplan's hopes for the future here as they work through this playoff bracket?
I said this in the last show. I think Kaplan makes it to the finals. I don't think they win the finals, but they definitely win their side of the bracket.
So definitely going to be an interesting path for Team Kaplan there. Next up, we had Team Townsend versus Team Last. Ethan Last sat out this game after the technicals in his last game. Another big win for Team Townsend. Not all these games were very close. A lot of blowouts this week. What'd you see out of Team Townsend that got you excited?
Score was 65-43. And I was talking to Owen and Jeremy after the game, and they both said that they did not score. Which just, we've been talking about it all year. Team Townsend has depth.
Yep.
They have height.
Bossum Majid is a
beast. Cole and Declan, they're all big guys.
And Declan gets boards, so many rebounds.
Yeah.
Declan Van Nest has really good hands and gets so many rebounds, and that's really just what's doing so well for him is when you play against a team like Team Last, where their best players are guards. Declan Van Ness is going to eat in those games, and he's going to do so well for himself just based off that.
Yeah, and Owen and Jeremy were just feeding him all game.
And also, as a result of this game, we got one of the greatest jersey swaps of all time.
Another quick thing about that game. Going into this game, Declan Van Ness, before yesterday's game, the 3 games before that, he only had 2 fouls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's kind of
crazy. Yeah,
being 6'4" and all.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well for himself. Great jersey swap out of Jeremy and John. This is kind of what we expect out of them because it's Jeremy and John.
Yep.
On to the next game, Team Rams versus Team Croft.
This was
a game that was closer than it should have been, for sure.
Final score 57-43, Team Rams.
Yep.
Pulled
Aria with 22. Dan with 21.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, definitely just a very interesting game. No one expected it to really be that close, especially if Aiden O'Sullivan only had 11.
Right.
So for Team Croft to play like that, that's a good way for them to go out. Aria is just too good, the MVP.
Danny McMillan was lights out shooting for Team Croft. He wasn't missing much at all.
I would, just to piggyback on what you guys were saying, I think everyone was in the new gym to watch Kelly Cespedes, and everyone thought this game would just be a non-factor kind of blowout, and I went in at halftime, and it was a 4-point game.
Yeah.
So, Team Croft played well in their final game. Give them credit.
And I think Team Rams just showed that especially in the playoffs, when you're playing one game for it all, if you have the best player on the court, that usually helps, right? And having the best player on the court means so much more come playoff time when you need a basket and you need to go on a run. And Aria did that. He scored 22, kind of put the team on his back a little bit, and took care of business. So big win for Team Rams there.
Yep.
Next up, we got Team Bersani versus Team Corey. Brendan McCafferty came in 3rd in MVP voting and scored 36 points. he's slightly good at basketball. What else
Playoff Brendan.
Playoff Brendan is a thing. What else did you guys see?
I would just like to say that I hyped up Jake Taggs last week, saying in English for weeks he had been saying he was going to come back, and he did not show up to the game. And the biggest reason why I picked Team Corey to upset this game was because Jake Taggs was going to be back, and he wasn't there, and they lost by 10. But apparently this was a pretty back and forth game.
It was high scoring.
Very high scoring.
Final score of 70-60. That's a shootout.
And also, when Team Bersani outside of Brendan and Pete still score 21 points, they're going to be pretty tough to beat, right?
Yeah.
When Team Bersani gets in trouble, it's because Brendan has 20, Pete has 20, and then the rest of the team has 10. When the rest of the team's also scoring 20, that makes them very, very dangerous, and they can do some big things and beat some really good teams as they move on.
I'd also just like to quickly shout out the O'Keefes. I think they shut down Nick Choate in this game, per Nick Choate, that's what he told me last night. So, that's such a huge asset for a team in the playoffs, is to have guys that can lock down like a top 2 player.
Especially bigger guys, too.
Yeah.
Especially bigger guys when in a league that doesn't have a ton of height. The O'Keefes play bigger than they are, and that's really, really huge for Team Bersani, and that's going to be a key going forward. Next up, going from a really high-scoring game to a really low-scoring game, we have Team Meyer versus Team Hogan. Cam?
Yeah.
What'd you see?
I definitely went in there underestimating Team Hogan a little bit. They definitely got better from when I played them the first game of the year. I think every time I mention Team Hogan, I mention Alex Honum. That kid's a beast. He blocked me like twice.
And it's a lot of stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Alex Honen's never going to put up 20 points, but he's going to get a ton of blocks and a ton of rebounds and a bunch of steals, and it's just always going to be in a spot that annoys you. And so Team Hogan definitely gave you guys a run for your money there.
Yeah, and also Charlie Snow. He's a lights out shooter.
Yeah,
like he can hit a 3 whenever you need him to.
And you had a big game, 19. Aiden Hirsch had 8. Aiden's one of those guys that's going to need to be big for you guys as you guys kind of advance through these playoffs here.
I think going up against Team Kaplan, obviously they're a very athletic and fast team, but they really lack height. And I think Aiden can have a big game against them.
Yeah, for sure. And next up, we have senior night and a tough defeat for Team Guilbeau against Team Cardin, 50-48. Team Cardin did not have Jack Cardin or Nearbon, but you guys played your hearts out. Keegan dropped a 20-piece for you. What did you guys see during that game that really...
I think, we were, if you guys, a lot of people were there watching, so, we were in it right until the very last second.
For sure.
Just free throws kind of killed us. And James was just like all over, like both ends of the court. He was all over us.
And the big thing about James was James got to the free throw line 6 times in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah,
with the entire student section screaming at him, and he made all 6.
Yeah.
Right. James was so composed at that free throw line and was able to finish off that game and close that out because he misses a couple of those, and suddenly you guys are right back in that game.
Exactly. Yeah. The story of that was just. In the final 2 minutes, I think we missed 6 straight free throws, and James hit 6 straight. So
that's what changes it.
Yeah.
Yep. And and also a bunch of big threes by Andrew Procbar too. Helped out
he was
a lot.
solid.
A bunch of the
Same with D. Lou, Derek Lou.
A bunch of the
Derek
role
Lou had some big
players
ones.
stepping up.
Yep.
Definitely.
It's a shame that we're never going to see another Navi video. It was fun.
Hey, just because he's not playing doesn't mean...
True.
There's always hope.
There's always hope.
There's always hope.
Navi, we're holding out hope that you make another video. So, please. Thank you. All right. Next up, Team Kelly versus Team Cespedes. This was a very hyped-up game that really just didn't live up to the hype. Probably one of the uglier Recball games I've seen in a while.
I will say, I think it was a good game at the end, but it was 6-4 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, the end of the first quarter was 6-4.
Yeah, it was 6-4.
And it was a very, Eli and Asael just kind of grinding it out, trying to get to the hoop a lot. Pat Kelly probably had one of the cleanest Euro steps I've ever seen in my life. But
not every game.
Pretty much. But Team Kelly loses. Team Kelly loses. Definitely the end of an era for Team Kelly with Pat and Eli being one of those dynamic duos that we always seem to talk about.
Also, for for Coach Kelly.
Trench coat.
It's the end of an era.
And
Is the end of
we
an
saw
era.
a picture of Coach Kelly and Coach Morin together.
And
We have to ask ourselves, will we ever see that again?
And the interesting thing about Team Kelly is, do we see a comeback? Does Coach Kelly come back and coach a team despite Patrick not being here?
Does Coach
potential.
Morin come
Well,
back?
the thing is, I think next year they're going to need coaches. Think about how many coaches this year were fathers of seniors.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're going to
So-
need coaches, so.
So there's definitely some opportunity there, some hope for the future. But so that's after our first week. Looking at the bracket for next week, what games are you guys looking at that you're really excited about?
I do think Kaplan's going to win, but I think you could maybe give them a run for their money. Because like you were saying, Aiden Hirsch, they don't really have anyone that tall. And I mean, I remember when we played you guys, we just didn't have someone that fit Aiden's athleticism and height, and he dropped 30.
Yeah.
Could that happen again?
I'm gonna defend my case because I definitely think we can give them a run for their money because I'm thinking of guys on my team like Hugh Burke, he's tall. Aiden Hirsch, he's tall. Me and Colin are both around the same height, and I'm not thinking of anyone on that Kaplan team that's taller than any of the people that I just named.
Well, one game that I'm really excited for is Team Townsend versus Team Cardin. I'm really excited to see that game, especially if Jack Cardin's back.
He should be.
He should
And he should be. Just because I think that those two teams match up very well. I think Team Townsend has more depth than Team Cardin does. But once again, I talked about it earlier, Team Cardin's going to have the best player on the court. And so that's going to be a huge spot for them. And it's really just going to come down to who plays their best game during that one.
One game I'm looking at is Bersani Rams on the right side of the bracket. Bersani's a 6 seed, so Rams is favored at the 3. But I think Bersani has a good chance of winning this. They played.
That's the game I'm most excited for.
I'm really excited. I think Brendan and Pete, they want to make another run at it.
Yep,
And they have a tough road. They had to beat Corey, then they're gonna have to beat Rams, and if they do win, they're gonna have to probably beat Kaplan. Sorry, Cam. I'm encouraged by what I saw out of Team Bersani yesterday. So I think they have a chance. So.
And the one game we didn't talk about was Barry Cespedes because it's Team Barry. And that's what we didn't really talk about.
Yeah, in terms of my predictions, I'm taking Team Barry. Cardin Townsend could go either way, but I'm going to take Cardin.
Yep.
I'm going to take Kaplan. Sorry, Cam, but I think you guys could win, but I'm taking Kaplan. Bersani Rams, I honestly have no idea. That's a coin flip game for me.
You can pull me. I did that last week.
I'm going with Barry, Cardin, Kaplan, and I'm going to go with Team Bersani. I think Brendan's on a roll, and if Pete shoots a little better than he did yesterday, they're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the odd man out on this one. I'm taking Team Rams. The athleticism on Team Rams is really impressive. And there's a sophomore, his name's Caleb, I think.
Caleb Paul, yeah.
Yeah, he scored 13 yesterday. So if he can do that, along with Andrew Philbrook, Arya.
Andrew Philbrook
Eddie.
might be one of the most underrated players in the league.
Yeah,
Andrew Philbrook is a very, very important part of that team. And they do some big things because of what he does defensively.
I think Andrew Philbrook is definitely one of the most athletic people in the league,
For sure.
without question.
Yep.
Yeah, I know I said coin flip game, but after listening to my peers' responses,
Oh
I'm going to
my
go
God.
Bersani. I'm going to go
All right,
Bersani.
welcome. All right.
No, I'm going Rams.
All right, so there are
So everything's locked in?
Everything's locked in. There are predictions. We'll be back after the next round to talk about what we're thinking with those games. But for now, that's it. This is Full Court Press.
Signing off.
I apologize to anyone I've insulted.
Offended.
Breaking news, Alex Badger has been kicked off Full Court Press, just like his RILA application for swearing.
All right, let's start.